Hello and welcome to the 28 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1 Baseball Podcast, Day 4 College World Series Preview. I'm your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. I want to remind you, if you're at the College World Series this week, make sure you check out the Omaha Experience. It's over in the Village, air-conditioned store. You've got all the brands from EvoShield to Louisville Slugger to DeMarini and Wilson all under one roof. You've got limited edition gloves, gear, apparel, and more. It's available only during the Men's College World Series, so we've had a blast with those guys. Recommend everyone get over there. I am joined by Fitty Barrels, Aaron J. Fitt, Big Tex, Kendall J. Rogers. We will review yesterday, day 3, and then we'll preview day 4 here. So, gentlemen, good morning. How are we doing?
Not bad, Coach. How are you doing?
I feel perfectly cromulent today. Kendall, how you doing?
Doing great, buddy. Sorry, I was muted. That's a bad way to start this thing by muting myself.
But, I thought you got away with it, though.
We're doing awesome.
Yeah, well done. Well done. Boys, let's talk about the games yesterday, and then we will do the preview. So I'll take Arizona Louisville, and sure. Louisville won 8-3. You know, kind of unfortunate for Arizona in that their season ends. They had a great season. You know, I think for Chip Hale, who's done an incredible job there, getting back to Omaha, this is a program with tremendous history. I mean, sneaky, awesome, historic brand in college baseball. And, you know, I think so it's a shame to see their season end. You know, I would say Smith Bailey was awesome. Like, you know, if they can hang on to him, he is an Arizona kid. So, you know, it'd be pretty neat if he stays at Arizona for his whole career. Certainly they will have to fend off suitors for that. Hashtag tampering. But either way, like, that's a compliment to the kid's talent. I just think the bottom of the 8th in this game was a remarkable inning. I'm not sure I've seen a half inning like this in a long time. You know, unfortunately, it started with a Mason White error, which has been not like him. He's played great defense this year, and certainly he's always been an impact offensive player. But you know, Louisville really needed that. They for a day and 7 innings, they just were slogged. You know, it was just they could not get going. And this was the Louisville offense that I think I was smitten with early in the year. Now, you know, can Louisville come all the way through the losers bracket? It's going to be interesting. They used a lot of pitching yesterday. They used Ethan Eberle and Tucker Biven, but I think that version of their offense was very positive, and you know, a really redemptive year for Louisville, and just another chapter in that. So, yeah, cool. So Arizona goes home. Louisville advances in the losers bracket there. Fitzy, did you write the Coastal piece?
Yep.
Go ahead. Tell us to review that game for us.
Yeah, you know, it was just kind of more of the same from Coastal. And, you know, I said, I think yesterday on the show, that they've just been almost boring in the best way, in just how consistent they are. And that was kind of what yesterday was. You know, it was just like, we're not going to beat ourselves. We're going to pummel the strike zone. We're not going to give you free bases. We got our guy, Jacob Morrison, on the mound. He did what he always does. Just went out and filled it up. I mean, 7 1/3, 1 run, ho-hum, you know? And it's like, and the kind of the angle of my piece was, yeah, it is like just kind of routine at this point for Coastal. They don't feel like they ever show up and just have a clunker. I mean, they won 25 in a row, but a lot of these wins feel kind of similar, which is they just smother you, you know, and they're efficient offensively. They're opportunistic. The difference in the game really was Oregon State gave away some free bases, you know, 6 walks, couple hit batsmen, couple errors, and all of that stuff led to all of Coastal's runs, really. I mean, Coastal had a few big hits to take advantage of it. Like I said, the opportunistic part, Kobe Thorndike with the biggest swing of all, really, the 3-run double in the first inning. That was really all that they needed. I mean, and after that, they tacked on a couple more when the Beavers made some more mistakes, but Coastal didn't make mistakes. And they didn't, you know, 1 walk, I think, for the whole staff, none for Morrison. No hit by pitch. I mean, it's just like you gotta work hard to beat those guys. And I just think that the fact that they do this over and over and over again, and that it's the same thing in Omaha, it's the same thing against Oregon State in Omaha as it was at Auburn, or as it was against East Carolina in the regional, or as it was in the Sun Belt tournament. Or it's just the consistency is simply remarkable. It's not boring. It's dazzling. And so that's kind of the point I guess I was trying to get across. It's weird way to put it, but just hats off to that team. I just think it's incredible that they keep this thing going and they just keep playing at the same level over and over.
Hey, KR, I'm going to ask you a general question. Like, we're through 3 days, and it feels like the Chuck is playing a real role in this. And it's to Fitzy's point, like, if you don't play clean defense, you're really vulnerable because you can't slug your way past that, right? It's just throwing strikes and playing clean defense. Am I over-indexing there, or are you seeing it that way too?
Yeah, definitely seen it that way. I mean, not to go back to Arizona too much, but I mean, we talked about the margin for errors being so small already going into this tournament, and then you look at the conditions that these teams are playing through offensively, and you look at yesterday with Tony Pluta dropping a ball there at home plate on the pickoff or on the rundown. Just little things like that are magnified here, and so I can't see any flags outside, but I mean, until the wind shifts or something, it's going to continue to play like that.
Yep, it's going to be fascinating.
What's really interesting, by the way, I was
Coach,
gonna bring this up. I was talking to Chris from Louisville about this last night, but there's been so much said already about just the lack of home runs. What's interesting is home runs were actually up a hair in the postseason before the College World Series, so that's just something interesting to kind of file away as we continue this College World Series field.
When we got into super regionals, I saw a Jeremy Mills stat, who's a researcher for ESPN, for the uninitiated. Yeah, we were like through regionals, we were like tied with a couple years ago for the most home runs. I think the weather had really warmed up, and that was a big part of it in regional play.
Yeah, what was it? There was a ball yesterday hit like 110, I believe, off the bat that just died in the gap. So. Hopefully we see a little bit more, a few more long balls here. Maybe today it'll change a little bit.
How about this? A stat pat from, or a pat stat, I should say, from Chris Gennaro. A winning team has not hit a home run in the CWS yet. I mean, has been, yeah. So I feel like it's not just home runs either, guys. Like it's slug. Like I just feel like we're seeing very few extra base hits.
Yeah, balls just hanging up in the gaps. It has been a lot of singles. We've seen some doubles, of course, and I thought it was interesting just to hear Colby Thorndike talk about specifically the way that they train to hit there. Is he said, hey, between 10 and 30 degree launch angle, our coaches have been preaching that all year long, and this is a team that plays in a Homer Dome, right? I mean, generally, unless the wind's really blowing in at Coastal, it's usually not. That place is a home run hitter's ballpark, and they just train 10 to 30 degree launch angle. That means like they're really drilling down on that, and I love that specificity. And that's a big key to winning here.
Gotta love it. By the way, yesterday we had the bottom of the 8th in the Louisville Arizona game, which was bonkers, and then the start of the Coastal game was bonkers. We had a pitch clock violation, strike 3. We had you got hit by a pitch on purpose, strike 3. We had Gavin Turley threw a bat into the stands. It was
you had those two. Yeah, you had those two scenarios that happened at Coastal, and then you had a base clearing double. So as they say, the ball don't lie, right? One thing I was going to add on Coastal real quick, and Fitzy and I were talking about this last night, but the thing about Coastal that's interesting, and I say this while looking ahead to who they could potentially face if they're in the championship facing, let's say, Arkansas or LSU. But the thing about Coastal is if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to lay a haymaker right now. They're playing at an incredibly high level. They're not making mistakes. They're not going to give you second chances. They're pitching at an incredibly high level as well. Coastal I get that like LSU and Arkansas have the star power, but man, Coastal just kind of has that look right now. If somebody's going to beat them, they're going to have to go out there and just absolutely dominate them to knock them out.
And they have the most pitching. They have the deepest. Maybe Arkansas is in that conversation too, but they're also in the best shape on the mound. Like they're in incredibly good shape on the mound because Fluky again, like they could bring him back. He started. Anyway, we'll get to that later in the week, but they're in great shape on the mound.
Yep. It's been jarring how impressive they've been. Like it's just like eye-popping.
It's a machine.
Yeah.
And I like Schnall last night, by the way, fighting for his team a little bit in the post game. Although I do wonder who mispronounced Chanticleer. he was very, very angry about somebody saying Chanticleer. So.
I think everybody's been mispronouncing that word for 30 years, and I think that's just what
I love Schnall's intensity, though. You can tell it rubs off on his team.
Oh, that's so great. At my day job, we have a young guy in our finance department who went to Coastal. He was a New Hampshire kid, went to Coastal, and so his dad is a New Hampshire guy, and his dad can't say Chanticleers or chooses not to, so he just refers to them as the Teal Chickens. So that's not me saying that. Yeah, right. Like,
actually.
Go
had
Teal
like a
Chickens.
Sunday jersey that says Teal Chickens on it.
Teal Chickens. So
good. Hey, Chris from Maine tells us to move on. I guess he's angry that we're not talking about the Maine Black Bears at this moment.
Black Bears
Omaha
extra.
Mainstay, Maine, from back in the old days.
Yes, let's go. All right, let's do the preview. Let's do this. So game 1 today, day 4, will be Arkansas and Murray State. If they stayed on schedule, I would presume it would be Gage Wood versus Isaac Silva. Now, Arkansas has an embarrassment of riches on the mound. They could play their pitching a million different ways. Kendall, why don't we start with you? What would be, in your mind, a keys to the game for Arkansas?
Yeah, I think for Arkansas, it's just get off to a lot better start offensively. I just felt like the other night, and give Cade Anderson a lot of credit. I mean, he's the best the best pitcher in college baseball. But he did not allow them to get in any sort of groove. I think for Arkansas is make it happen early, get the confidence flowing a little bit. Because I thought, when the ESPN was doing kind of the dugout shots and things like that, in the middle of that game against LSU, it did not look like a team that was very confident they were going to come back and score a bunch of runs. It really didn't. DVH body language did not look like a guy that they thought they were about to make a run. And so I think for Arkansas, it's just getting off to a really hot start offensively tonight. I have a lot of faith in Gage Wood to give them a really good start on the mound. And certainly, as Fitzy pointed out a minute ago, they've got a treasure trove of bullpen weapons they can use. So to me, it's all about the offense.
Fitzy, how about a keys to the game for Murray State?
Well, I think it starts with Silva. It's a kind of a sinker slider guy, so you're going to be getting some ground balls, and we've seen a lot of ground balls mishandled, I feel like, in this series, and I feel like that sometimes can happen here. It's a fast track, and especially if you're a turf team, that can be difficult for teams to handle, or just in general. I mean, there's just a lot of hard, hot ground balls on this turf, or on this surface, and so Murray State's got to play clean defense behind him. They've been pretty good defensively, but he's got to give him some length and got to get him off to a good start, because that Arkansas offense is scary. They do have power up and down, so I think it's actually a pretty good matchup for Murray State, that we can come at him with this sinker ball guy and maybe kind of try to neutralize the power a little bit. That's the plan. He's got to execute it. Didn't really happen that way against Duke. Duke got him pretty good. If you leave that sinker up, you're in trouble. So he's got to keep it down and let the defense work, and they got to play clean behind him.
Hey, let's have each of you guys give us an X factor for Arkansas, like a player or a theme for Arkansas that you feel like will be impactful in this game or needs to be. Go ahead, KR.
Yeah, I'll go with Vahiba Aloy. I just think a star player like that on this stage, for them, we just talked about the offense and how they need to get going. He needs to be kind of that key guy tonight or this afternoon. He's a ridiculously good player. He's got power generation. He's electric in the field. I just think for him, to me, he's the X factor. He needs to have a big game.
Fitzy, what say you on Arkansas X factor?
I guess it's not really an X factor. I don't know, man. Take your pick. Anyone in their lineup could be an X factor. Like, every one of them guys have numbers. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's who's going to show up. Like, somebody's going to do something. Probably a lot of guys could do something. I just think it's the
Avalon. Yeah,
Avalon. They got handled by Cade Anderson, but I don't think you can keep these guys down too long. And so I just think maybe the wind is the X factor. It's a home run hitting team. I mean, if the wind keeps on howling in like it has all week, can they handle it? Can they adjust to that? I think they can. Good offensive teams. Again, we've seen home run hitting teams win here before, although maybe not as much with the wind right now.
Yeah, I would say Chuck Davalon and Cam Kojal feel really important to me. Like, it feels like they're the energy guys for this team, and I'm with you, Fitzy. Like, I don't think you're going to just slug your way through this thing. Like those types of guys that can hit home runs but don't have to hit home runs are really critical. I would say for Murray State, like Captain Obvious, they're top two hitters. They're 1 and 2 hitters, John Hogart and Dusty Doubles, if you will, Dustin Mercer. As they've been ripping through this postseason, it feels like those dudes are having 3 and 4 hits every time. And I know Hogart did have 3 hits the other day. I think the other thing for Murray State is getting out to a lead has been really critical because it's applied so much pressure to the other teams. I feel like Murray State striking first will be really important. Kendall, who are you picking in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Arkansas. It's just hard to think that Arkansas is going to go 0-2 in this tournament. Let me go with the Hogs.
Fair. Fitzy, same.
I just think they've got too much. I think they can. As much as I like this Murray State team, I just think Arkansas is going to too much firepower. That's all, and on the mound as well. I mean, they certainly, there's a lot of levers they can pull there.
Yeah, I'm with you guys, Arkansas. And that does mean that we would be bidding adieu to Murray State, which is one of the great stories in the last God knows how long in college baseball. But like every time I'm walking around Omaha and I see someone in Murray State gear, it just warms my heart. What a great story. But we'll see. There's a baseball game to be played. Let's move on to the UCLA and LSU matchup. Super interesting. We think it's going to be Anthony Ianson, who, by the way, is a California kid and played at UC San Diego before coming to LSU. I would assume UCLA will throw Landon Stump. I'm going to start with a Pat stat, boys. Now, the Coach Rooney generated Pat stat, so it's not going to be maybe up to the same high standards as your authentic Pat stat. Do you guys know how many appearances David Berg, Everyday Dave, made in 2013 when UCLA won the national title? UCLA played 66 games that year. How many appearances did Everyday Dave make?
50.
50 for Fitzy. What are you guessing, Kendall?
Yeah, 50 sounds good, actually. I feel like I should know this off the top of my head.
51.
He broke the record. Yeah, let's say he broke the record that year.
Yeah. How crazy is that? 51 appearances. Now, he's a submariner, and those guys can throw every day, but he literally threw every day. So fun. So, Fitzy, you want to give us some keys for UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, it's it really does feel like for them, it's just a matter of keep on keeping on here. I mean, what they've been doing, it feels a lot like Coastal to me, where since the start of the postseason, UCLA has just played very good baseball. And, the second half of the game the other day, maybe not quite as sharp, but they already had built a big lead, and they're good enough in the bullpen to mix and match. And so I think we're going to see the same formula. We're not looking for Landon Stump to go 7 innings here. It's, can we get 4 out of this guy? And then, we go to the bullpen and run different looks at you and keep you off balance. And that's their formula. Is you don't need Stump to go out there and out pitch Ianson. That's not the ticket for UCLA. That's not how they're going to win this game if they win this game.
Kendall, what say you on LSU? What are keys for LSU?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is, I have a lot of faith in Ianson to go out there and give them a really good start. I mean, I've seen him twice in the last month and a half. He's been outstanding. But I think the big key for me is just the fact that LSU's offense has to get going a little bit. I mean, to give you an idea, and we've talked about this. We talked about this yesterday. But to give you an idea how good Cade Anderson was in game 1, they struck out 16 times and still beat Arkansas. Like, that's pretty incredible. But that doesn't have staying power. Like, you cannot strike out 16 times to have that little of offensive production and expect to win the national championship. So I think LSU's offense needs to get on a roll today. And Jared Jones in specific is the guy for me to keep an eye on. 0 for 5 strikeouts. I did see a video yesterday with where him and Jay, by themselves, were working in the cage. So maybe, he comes out today and has a big game for the Tigers.
I think this game is very tricky for LSU. You come off the high of beating Arkansas, who everyone, many people were crowning as the favorite here. I think UCLA is very underrated. Fitzy, I feel like you've been saying this. Like, this team is more physically talented than people realize. And I think the first 5 innings of this game are critical for LSU. because if they allow UCLA to get out ahead of them, if the field continues to play the way it has played, I do think that favors UCLA. And that's kind of how they won this title in 2013, where offense was suppressed, and it's not as extreme as that, but I think LSU is the better team. I think that's clear to me. I like the depth of their roster better, and Ianson I think is a more physically gifted pitcher than Landon. Going to be really fascinated to see how the first 5 innings of this game play out.
Yeah, Reeves, the other thing I was going to kind of pick up on is I was looking through Landon Stump's synergy charts. Thanks to our partners at Synergy, some awesome stuff throughout the year. But the one challenge I think the LSU has against Stump as well is, he throws 5 legitimate pitches. And when you're an offense and you're going against a pitcher who can throw 5 pitches, that's tough because you don't really know what's coming. It's not like he's the 2 or 3 pitch guy where you can kind of sit on something. So the fact that he actually, will throw those 5 pitches is pretty impressive.
I think Coach Rooney might have froze. So we're gonna plow forward here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So what were we doing? Key players for each team?
Why don't you do a key player for UCLA and then I'll do a key player for LSU, or you can take LSU. One of your call.
I'll go. Yeah. Well, I did. I'll go UCLA here. We need Coach Rooney to keep us on track right now. We're just like flailing right now. I'm going to say, boy, this is a tricky one because there's a lot. Again, it's another one of those teams that there's a lot of guys you could go with for UCLA. But hey, I'm going to go Chalowski, the low hanging fruit. We're going with stars for.
You went on a limb.
We're going with player star power and our players to watch today. You guys both in the last one took star powers. What can he do on the big stage? Best player in the country. Here's your big matchup, your showdown against UCLA. Anthony Ianson. Like, this guy's an impact player. Let's see how he can impact the game here.
Hey, hopefully you guys can hear me now, but I think I'm with you, Fitzy, on Chalowski, where when Coastal went to Auburn and played that super regional, Caden Bodine was the best player on the field in game 1. And I felt like that was exactly what Coastal needed. And same thing, like LSU will be intimidated. Oh, here I'm back. LSU with the uniforms and the tradition, it's a special deal. They need Chalowski to get off and get off early.
Disembodied.
Can I just add this real quick? The fact that we can't see you, but we can hear you, it's like I'm talking to my Lord over here.
That's so great. Like the wizard.
Unsettling.
Did you guys do LSU, an X Factor for LSU?
Yeah, we did. So we were on key player X Factor. Fitzy did his. He went on a limb and took Chalowski for UCLA.
So, caught that.
Yeah, I'll stick with Jared Jones. I talked about him a second ago, but after the bad first game, if there's one guy who can get us off the mat in terms of power and home runs here in Omaha, it's my man Jared Jones. So he's my X Factor today. He can change a game pretty fast.
Love it. Let's do picks and we'll wrap. Fitzy, who do you like in this game?
I think it's a tough one. I really, 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 it's almost like, again, like I'm not going to call it a coin toss because I'm going with LSU because of the Ianson factor. That was my whole point in the World Series is Anderson Ianson. Like, that's the formula for LSU to win it all. And, you got to get another game in there. But like, it feels to me like, this could be like a what was it, the 2015 or 2012 Arizona team where it's just like those 2 starters, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you just got to get one extra game. Like, it's like that's the formula. Ianson, I'm not betting against him. He's an absolute stud. He's been awesome. Really, most of the year, but especially here late. And as good as UCLA is, as much as I respect that offense and that pitching staff, I can't bet against Ianson.
Yep. Kendall, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go with LSU. I do think this is going to be a really good game. I thought, Fitzy made a good point earlier about how UCLA has Coastal vibes. They're playing really well. Feels like you're going to have to deliver a knockout punch against them. But who can do that? It's Anthony Ianson. His changeup has been absolutely wicked over the last few weeks. Right now, guys, a 70% whiff rate on the changeup for Anthony Ianson. The slider's at a 52% whiff rate for Ianson. Man, he's just been incredible, especially down the stretch. So I'm going to go with LSU.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. All the reasons you said, and also just like, hey, this is the SEC's party until proven otherwise, and so I'm not going to pick against that league and just everything it brings to the table. I also think Jay Johnson's a factor here. I think he's just got incredible feel for what works this time of year and what are the traps, and I know Jay will have them ready. So there you go. Well done, boys, and thanks for carrying me while I disappeared there.
The haters are going to have a field day if we get any of these wrong. We all picked all SEC today.
So. Oh, boy.
You guys are biased.
Fitzy, what is your record coming into today on your picks? Do you know?
I think I'm 5-1. My first loss was Arizona yesterday.
Since we all picked all SEC, I'm just waiting for Greg Sankey's Venmo here.
Yeah.
Nice.
We are on the payroll, as you know.
Yes, that's right. Biased with a T. Thank you. All right, boys. Well done. That's it. Everybody enjoy day 4, and we will catch you next time on the D1 Baseball Podcast.